the teeth gnashing in Columbus is at a new all-time high, and I'm curious what you think about that program, and because they still haven't really seen the Big Ten yet, and there are a lot of contenders in the Big Ten right now.
Well, as we all know, things can change. I would always say I'm quick to give teams a benefit of the doubt in September. More often than not, because as you can be down on a team and then next week they win by 40 and you're thinking, oh, okay, now everything's fixed. In Ohio State's case, I don't feel that way. I thought Ryan Day made a very astute comment when he met with the media last week, leading into their game this past week. He said this was not a one-game thing. This was a trend that's been going on with our defense, and that's why we've got to make these changes. If you really paid attention to Ohio State, when Jeff Hafley left as the defensive coordinator, took the Boston College head job, they went to Kerry Combs as the defensive coordinator. And Ohio State's defense from that point on has been pretty erratic. They're typically more talented than the opponents that they play, kind of like Alabama in the SEC. And then they got exposed when they played Alabama in the national championship in an embarrassing fashion. A lot of people thought Ohio State might make some changes to that staff as they got ready for the 2021 season. They elected not to. And now all of a sudden, week 2, boom, the Oregon game happens. And I think that's why you're sensing so much energy out of Columbus. It wasn't one game. It's kind of been a trend, and I think there are some real concerns without Jeff Hafley calling the defense. What can you do in the middle of a season? You can't, call a phone, a helpline and say, hey, can you come become our defensive coordinator? All you can do is within your staff try to make some changes, which is very, very challenging to do, especially when you're a single high, meaning one safety in the middle of the field. That means you're either cover 1, which is man free, or cover 3. And for offensive coordinators getting ready for that style of defense, because Ohio State doesn't disguise, they don't play a lot of other coverages, it makes it somewhat easy to figure out how to attack that defense, and that's what teams have been able to do so far. I don't see that changing. I think Ohio State's going to have to hope to outscore people as they get into conference play. I think their defense is what it is. They might get a little bit better from here or there, but I think that that defense is going to be a concern all year long, which opens up the potential door for a discussion of Penn State in the Big Ten East, Michigan, Michigan State. If you're looking at the entire Big Ten, we've seen Iowa, there's Wisconsin. So, there's blood in the water right now in the Big Ten, and I think people who are outside of Columbus are excited to think about maybe it's going to be a different team coming out of the Big Ten in 2021. We'll see. Like I said, I'm not necessarily jumping the gun. I'm still kind of observing and watching to see how they improve. But the one thing I can tell you is they're going to have to outscore the better teams that they play. I don't see them stopping Penn State. I don't see them stopping Michigan. I don't see them being able to slow down these offenses. So they're going to have to win 42-38 and 38-35. Those kind of scores against the better teams.
I want to go to the SEC before you have to go, but is there one school you've seen Penn State? Is there one school in the Big Ten that you think poses the greatest threat to them? Because the schedules are a little bit uneven.
Yeah, I think Penn State, if it were in State College, would pose the biggest threat. That fact that game's in Columbus, that's a very emotional game for Ohio State. So I want to see more how Penn State plays at Iowa City in a couple weeks. But there's something special about this Penn State team 3 weeks in. There's a belief. They started the year 0-5. You know how it is. A proud program goes through something that drastic, tends to bring them really close together when they get ready for the next year. That's my sense right now with Sean Clifford, the quarterback, and the defense, the way they're playing. By the way, that Auburn team, I think that's a better Auburn team than people maybe want to give them credit. They went into a really tough environment. I'm a big fan of Brian Harsin. Bo Nix, I think, is going to play much better in this system. He looked like he played with more poise. He didn't forced the ball, he pulled it down, he threw it away, he kept his team alive, and I think because of that, they had a chance at the end. So I'm not saying, hey, look out Alabama, here comes Auburn. I'm just saying I like the way they played in that environment, and I like what I saw from Bo Nix, and I think that defense has a chance to be really good.
Finally, Kirk, before you go, you can imagine this show, the teeth gnashing for Alabama in spite of a win at the Swamp has been high. Your takeaway from what you saw Saturday, what you saw Saturday when Alabama played Florida?
Two things. Number one, there's some concerns with Alabama. I mean, we all just wanted to, after we watched them the first couple of weeks, all right, put them in the championship. It's Nick Saban, it's Alabama. It doesn't matter who's on the roster. They're in. But going to Florida, as you know, they've moved offensive linemen around. You know, you've got one returning starter at the same position that he played a year ago. You've got a new offensive line coach in Doug Marrone. You got a new offensive coordinator, a new quarterback. On the road, they got whipped up front, you know, in certain series in that game. And so I think it just shows that Bama's got work to do, especially offensively. They've got to continue to build continuity on that side of the ball. The ceiling is incredibly high with Bryce Young and the receivers. And then I would say Florida is a lot better than at least I thought. Man, Dan Mullen can coach. Based on the way Emory Jones looked those first couple weeks, I had serious doubts about if they had enough balance to be able to move the ball against Alabama, even though they were at home. And Dan Mullen proves once again that whether it's a throwing quarterback like Kyle Trask or more of a dual threat quarterback like what he had in Nick Fitzgerald when he was in Starkville, he figures out ways to move the ball. And he deserves a lot of credit. He had his team ready to roll. Todd Grantham had their defense flying around and playing with confidence, playing in the Swamp, feeding off of that energy in the second half. You could tell really helped them. But I don't think that was a fluke. I don't think it was bad Alabama. I think that was good Florida. And, man, I'm pumped to kind of watch to see where Florida goes from here, because I think, you know, after the way Georgia's looked, we were just like, all right, Georgia and Bama in Atlanta, we'll see them in December. And now, I don't know. I think it's I'm fired up to watch how the SEC plays out this year.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.